This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
It's going down, no cannons inspiring. You hear that sound, it's so inspiring. Don't know for new consider retirement. Call it quits. Don't you be mad, CBS is hiring.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast for episode 52. Still can't believe we've done 50 of these things, man. 52 at that. Welcome back to a brand new episode. We are live on YouTube today talking the latest in Bucs news and taking your questions, thoughts, and whatever you got to say about this football team. So it's been a very slow season for the Bucs right now. It is the offseason coming up on the draft. Things get slow. Not going to lie to you. News has been slow. A lot of the rumors coming in have been wacky. They've been everything Bucs fans wanted to hear, but regardless of all of that, it's still a slow time for Bucs news. But we're going to talk about all of that today. Welcome back to the show. If you're new around here, I am your host, Rhett, joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Bucs Football, Evan. Now, Evan, before we started the show, you told me there was something on your mind, and you wanted me to lead in with that, and so here we are. It has to do with basically what Rappaport said regarding defensive lineman Quinnen Williams in the NFL draft. And what's on your mind, buddy? Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Ian Rappaport has basically just came out and said that Quinnen Williams is going to be a top 2 pick, which either means he's going to go to, barring a trade, he's going to go to the Arizona Cardinals at 1 or the San Francisco 49ers at 2. And I'm here to say that he never said that, okay? What he said was that he would expect him to be a top 2 pick, and that teams have him number 1. A lot of teams have him number 1 on their board. And he also said that if there weren't needs of other teams, that he might be the best player in the draft. Well, other teams do have needs, and you prioritize needs in the draft. So everybody is basically saying, "Oh, well, okay, Quinnen Williams is either going 1 or 2." So, no, if Quinnen Williams is going 1 or 2, then what? That means that the Cardinals have soured on Kyler Murray or Nick Bosa after you've heard all of that, or this whole offseason, that it's either Murray or Bosa and leaning towards Murray? No. And then the 49ers, they have so many interior defensive linemen, it wouldn't make sense. Like I understand they traded for D Ford, but they need Bosa. They need an edge rusher more. So I guess he's basically saying, Jets fans, cheer up, I guess. But because, I mean, yeah, or Raiders fans, I just don't know. Like in the coming weeks, like there was a time I had done a mock draft. I do a bunch of mock drafts. I only release one, okay, which will be probably sometime next weekend. I don't know if I'm going to release it on the page or what, but I'll release it somewhere. And in one mock draft, probably maybe a month ago, I had Quinnen Williams going to the Bucs at 5, and it was because I believe the New York Jets would trade down. However, I'm starting to hear that Quinnen Williams going 5 to the Buccaneers is going very unlikely. Just because, not because the Buccaneers wouldn't take him, because they would. It's just that the teams in front, specifically the New York Jets and Oakland Raiders, would take him.
Here's something as well. Could we compare this to, I remember a couple of weeks ago a report came out that basically said it's all but confirmed that the Cardinals are going to take Kyler Murray at number 1. Now, a situation that somebody had brought up, what if the Cardinals don't take Murray at 1? I mean, not only what does that do for the Bucs at 5, but can you just... It seems like it's that time of year where you see smoke screens everywhere.
Yeah.
People just kind of saying things to say things,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine a reputable source like Rap Sheet would just throw something out like that, but can that be compared to another take from, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, but that's not what Rappaport said, though. It's not like he reported that Quint, like, per source.
No,
Quint,
I get that.
Quint Williams is going to go number 2 or 1 or 2 in the draft. It's just he said he would expect Quinn Williams to go number 1 or 2 in the draft. And that's just because he's basing it off of how teams think of this guy. He's a beast. He's an animal, right? And yes, I mean, it's smoke screen time. You're going to hear some stuff probably up until draft day, up until 8 p.m. on April 25th. That's when all the stuff's going to stop. You're going to hear some wild stuff. And even then, during the draft, you might hear teams maybe trying to trade up, trying to trade down. You might hear something in the next couple of days. Oh, the Cardinals might be open to trading down if somebody, something like that. Like, oh, maybe they're not so high on Murray, just to try and get leverage and get value. You got to look at all options. So,
right.
The one mock I did have Quinn Williams to the Bucks. However, I've just been told that Quinn Williams is not likely to make it to 5, and the Bucks aren't expecting that either. Now, the Bucks didn't expect O.J. Howard to be there at 19 either. They were shocked. And the only reason O.J. Howard was there was because there was a run on quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky went number 2. Patrick Mahomes went 10. I believe Deshaun Watson went 12. And that allowed O.J. Howard to just keep falling because teams weren't expecting 3 quarterbacks to go in the top 15. So that allowed that. The Bucks didn't expect that. So obviously, just because the Bucks don't expect something to happen doesn't mean that it won't. So we'll see what happens. I do believe that the Jets are probably still looking for an edge rusher, which would lead me to believe that they're likely to take Josh Allen and would lead the Raiders with Quinn Williams. But I think that the big wild card is the Jets because I do think the Raiders would take Josh Allen over Quinn Williams. And I do believe that that would lead Quinn Williams to the Bucks at 5. If the Jets trade down, which unfortunately we probably won't know until they're on the clock, draft night.
Right.
If they trade down and Quinn Williams and Josh Allen are there for the Raiders, I think they would probably, while I believe Quinn Williams is the better player, based on need, I think they would probably take the edge rusher, Josh Allen, and then Quinn Williams would be a Buck. However, I just don't think the QB market just isn't there as it has been in years past for to trade up to number 3. So that'll leave the Jets to pick between Quinn Williams or Josh Allen, and the Raiders get the other one. So, like you said, if let's say Bosa goes 1, I think the Bucks probably end up the same. Probably end up with Devin White. The only way they wouldn't, in which case I honestly don't know what they would do, is probably if, let's say, Bosa would go 1, 2 is Williams, 3 is Allen, and let's say the Raiders are sitting there at 4 and they draft Devin White.
Right.
Then you could sit there and say, well, maybe the Bucks will take Ed Oliver. Maybe a team might be more willing to trade up for Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins at 5 rather than trade up for him at 1, right? So that might be an option. So I think it would either be Ed Oliver or trade down if Devin White and all 3 of the defensive linemen are off the board.
And the Bucks also do have another question mark coming into the draft, and that question mark is Gerald McCoy. We've talked before on the show about Gerald McCoy kind of being shopped around, not getting a lot of interest. But we've recently seen some updates that the Bucks have been shopping Gerald McCoy very aggressively. Aggressively is the term that they used, and I mean, I think about that, and then you think about something else that came up just recently that mentioned the Bucks are in win now mode, and somebody in the live chat brought it up as well. I think it was JC Cornell on Twitter. He had brought up, don't count out the Bucks using 2020 or 2021 draft picks to get back into a spot closer to the end of the first round. I mean, how does all of that just kind of fall into place? You know what I mean? With Gerald McCoy, I have mixed opinions on it. I don't think his production is worth $13 million a year, and I think the Bucks are still looking for a trade partner to try and work something out. But when do we hear news on that? And when it does happen, like, is there any way we can expect what to happen on draft night? I know I'm tossing a bunch of random information at you, but there's just a lot going on this tray of rumors here regarding Gerald McCoy and the draft and things like that.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't expect anything until draft night. And even, I'm not saying first round. I'm talking just the draft in general.
And I feel like if we were to see Gerald McCoy move too, I wanted to add this, it wouldn't be before the Bucks take a pick at 5 or find a way to trade back or whatever.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if the earliest you're going to see Gerald McCoy traded, if he's traded at all, is going to be late day 2 in like the middle to late 3rd round. The Bucks try to get back in there. Maybe they package McCoy a 4th round and like a 5th for next year or something, and try to trade back into the 3rd. That's probably the earliest I could see McCoy getting dealt. But JC was basically telling me, we had a conversation, and he basically told me that it was just pure speculation on his part. It wasn't like he didn't hear that the Bucks are trying to trade up.
Right. It's just
he had mentioned, just like you said, the win now mode thing, and maybe there's a guy there. Maybe there's a guy that they like. Maybe there's a guy like Hollywood Brown, Marquise Hollywood Brown. Maybe they like him a lot, and maybe the price isn't as steep as they originally thought, and they can get away with using, a 2022nd, a 2023rd, something like that. It would still take probably your 2019 third. I don't know about 2019 second, but so maybe you do like for like the 28th pick or something, do like Gerald McCoy, a 2019 third, a 2022nd, a 2024th or something, to try and trade back in and get your guy. If there's a guy that's rated high enough there, I think they're definitely going to try it.
exactly.
Jason Light has tried. I don't know how many people know this, but he has tried, and even last year he was trying. There was some rumors that Pewter Report had put out that the Bucks were interested in trading back into the first round to select Darius Geis. However, those rumors kind of got maybe a little squashed because the Bucks passed on Darius Geis. For Ronald Jones, when they had a chance to draft him, if you were trying to trade up for the guy, why not just draft him there? But in 2017, that was true. They tried to trade up for Dalvin Cook in the 2nd round. Like they like doing that, especially on day 2. I don't expect to see much day 1 stuff. The Bucks normally like to keep their pick and stuff like that. But it's tough. It's tough to trade back into the first round just because it's so expensive.
Right.
Teams don't want to give up their first round pick without getting a lot back in return. So if the Bucks can somehow convince a team like maybe like the Patriots, who have a bunch of picks in this year's draft, sitting at 32, and let's say the Bucks have somebody there, I'm not really going to put any names. I put out Hollywood Brown, but I think he'd probably be gone by then. If the Bucks have somebody there that they like, and they're like, listen, I don't think he's going to be here with our 2nd round pick, and they want to offer the Patriots, that Gerald McCoy 2019 third and like a 2020 second or something, and just see if they take it or not. I don't know. Jason Light loves his draft picks, so I wouldn't expect him to part ways with too many this year. But we'll see what happens. It's not all Jason Light's show now, though, because Bruce Arians has a say in personnel and actually has more of a say in personnel than Dirk Cutter previously did. So
right. Now, taking a look at the draft and going back to that Gerald McCoy situation, if the Bucks do make their first round selection at number 5, would drafting a linebacker over a defensive lineman or landing a pass rusher over a linebacker, vice versa, would that kind of show any signs towards what would happen with Gerald McCoy? Because, one would expect that if you draft a linebacker, you're not going to be in a hurry to replace a guy like Gerald McCoy, but of course that couldn't really mean anything. But do you think that'll depend on like what they do with that first pick?
It all depends. If Quinton Williams is there and they pick him, that's just because Quinton Williams is probably the best player in the draft, and it's a miracle that he fell to 5 and the Bucks were like, whoa. right? But if they and especially and obviously that's with Devin White being on the board, but I think we can all agree that the Bucks, Quinn Williams is better than Devin White, and the Bucks like Quinn Williams better than Devin White, and they love Devin White. So it would be more. What would be more telling to me is if, let's say, Devin White is on the board, and they would select Ed Oliver at 5 instead of Devin White. That would lead me to believe that, oh yeah, they want Gerald McCoy out, and they wanted his replacement.
Right.
If they would go Devin White in the first round, their second and third round picks are going to be very telling. It's going to be very telling what it is. If it's offensive line, if it's secondary, that might mean that Gerald McCoy might stick around. But if it's defensive line, that's not good news for Gerald McCoy. So it all depends. If obviously at 5, if it's a defensive lineman, doesn't bode well. If it's White at 5, you gotta wait till day 2 to see what happens.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, we've got another question in the live chat. This comes from Bucko Bruce, which I believe is our friend Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Germany. The question is, if Greedy Williams should fall to the second round, would the Bucks pick him as a cornerback, or would they draft another safety over him?
I mean, they probably would, but they shouldn't. They probably would draft him, but they shouldn't. I just don't.
Even if he slips to the second?
He's not good.
So he's not even second rounder good. Because this is a guy that tons of Bucks fans were like, he's our pick just a couple of months ago. I'm not saying he's good, but
we're talking early second rounder. It's just, I don't know, man. He's like a mid-second guy for me. I just think there's just DeAndre Baker, better. Byron Murphy, way better. Although Byron Murphy, he's the first-round guy. Byron Murphy's not good. DeAndre Baker might be a fringe first-round guy, maybe a second-round guy.
Now, what do you not like about Greedy Williams? What makes him a mid-second guy to you? Is it because he's tall?
No, not at all. I like the fact that he's tall, right? Tall corners, Seattle thrived on having tall corners in their system, okay? The problem with me is well, for one, his deep ball awareness. Like, on the deep ball, he can't track the ball at all. He loses the ball in the air all the time. So if you go, and the 6'2" corner isn't going to be the fastest corner in the world. So if you have somebody like a Deshaun Jackson on the other side, and with his speed, they could really beat up on Greedy Williams in the game and do a lot of things against him that he can't do much about. He's got to work on his man coverage. It's just his instincts aren't the greatest. His ball skills are, I just don't know. I think a lot of people. He had a nice sophomore year, but his junior year was bad. Or I believe he might be a redshirt, not 100%. He wasn't even the best corner at LSU last year. That was Christian Fulton, and Christian Fulton's considered like a 5th, 6th round pick. Like they're basing it off of 2 things. 1, the year before that, which he was pretty good. 2, his name. I mean, that's an awesome name, Greedy Williams as a corner. That's in the second round, it wouldn't be hard. I'm not saying it would be horrible value, but I just don't think they should, and I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, you can't really tell because Greedy Williams hasn't taken any visits or workouts from any team.
So I'm assuming the next cornerback over 6 foot to come out of LSU with the last name Interception should be the number 1 pick in the draft, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, people love a tall corner, and I don't know. He's got a swagger to him, but it's just on-field play, man. On-field play, and he's my, Amani Oruwariye from Penn State would be better for the Bucks. I don't know.
I got you. Okay, so we are talking the latest in Bucks news on the stream. Those of you joining us here today, thank you so much. Wanted to give you an update on what's going on with our Pewter Pirates. Open workouts are underway, which means our guys are officially back in the building. These are voluntary workouts that started, last week before. The days are kind of blending together. Everybody made a big deal about Gerald McCoy not showing up at first. But basically, the guys are back in the building, working out, getting into shape for this coming training camp. And on a side note, I wanted to say I've been looking at some stuff that our quarterback, Jameis Winston, has posted, not only on his social media, but just videos here and there. Jameis is looking in fairly good shape. He's looking thin. I mean, he's still a big body built guy, but
I thought people were making a huge deal about him playing at 250 pounds.
Right.
But he played at 245 last year.
I mean, he's just leveling it out. You know, there's those infamous pictures I remember from a couple of years back where his gut's all hanging out.
Pre-draft, pre-2015 draft, they were like, the memes and stuff were like, when your uncle's at the barbecue and grabs the football or something. Yeah, those are funny.
I just wanted to come in there and say that. Yeah, I mean, he's looking good. I'm excited about his level of play, and hope he's able to step it up this year. I think he will.
If he doesn't, heads are going to roll.
Yeah, really. So, sorry, go ahead.
And I try to think of what would happen. What would happen if Jameis Winston fails this year? If Jason Light's gone, would Bruce Arians stay? Like, I think it would be up to Bruce.
I think it would be up to Bruce, but you know, you look at this. You look at why he came here.
It's Jameis, but I feel like the ownership. I mean, they gave Bruce a lot of money, and I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but it's a lot. It's not Gruden money, but it's a lot. And I feel like it would be up to him, and I feel like he'd probably have a say in picking a general manager, and he would have pretty much almost all the say in picking the next quarterback. Whether that would be Tua or Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason, one of those guys. But you know, let's talk about that if we have to when it time comes. But it's just that's something to think about. Because I don't know how loyal Bruce Arians would be, because two of the reasons he came to Tampa would be gone. You know, Jason Light and Jameis Winston.
Right. I got you. So for right now, I mean, I've got just about everything I want to talk about. I wanted to see what was on your mind, man. See if you had any pressing matters, because as I said before, it's been such a slow time for Bucs news that it's hard to really find content and grab onto it. I've been waiting on that big pre-draft news that the Bucs are going to start getting aggressive and letting people go and making some moves, but I don't think we're going to see it until draft day or that week of.
Yeah, you're not going to see anything until maybe after the draft.
It's like the Game of Thrones and having the dragons come. Like, moves are going to be made. They're just not going to be made right now. And then week after week after week after week, there's no moves made, and you start to wonder if they're even coming at all. But as far as I know, they're coming, right?
Don't even know what you're talking about with the Game of Thrones stuff.
I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan either. I just know that the dragons were a joke because they never showed up.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Jon Snow is the only thing I know from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm not too excited for Game of Thrones on Sunday either. I'm not a big fan. So
I don't care. Fantastic. Game of Thrones is back. Great. Text me when The Office comes back. Anyways, I don't really have much. I guess, there's going to be moves, but everybody's really stressing about, oh my God, they don't have money to sign draft picks. They don't have money to sign draft picks. Look.
They're going to make something happen.
Well, and they have time. The draft is not till April 25th. You draft, and then once you draft, you have their rights for a long time. It's not like immediately after you draft them, you have to sign them.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people are making a big deal out of that. Ronald Jones signed his rookie contract June 14th. All right, it just happens. You know, he was drafted on April 27th and signed it June 14th. I don't know what else to really say. You know, they have time to make money. You don't have to make money before the draft.
Right.
It's not like the NFL says, "Oh, you don't have enough money to sign draft picks, so you can't draft." No, you draft your players and you figure it out. It's not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
No.
But anyways, some news from the show. Guys, we're going to have Trevor Sikkema on from the Draft Network and Pewter Report.
Yeah.
We're going to have him on sometime in the upcoming week to talk Bucs draft and some options for the second and the third round, and maybe some late day 3 options, because we've pretty much covered the first round. I mean, I can pretty much tell you right now, it's either going to be Josh Allen, Quinn Williams, Devin White, or Ed Oliver. Yeah, and I can't see anybody else. Obviously, if Bosa, if he's there, but he's not going to be there. Yeah, I can't see anybody else. So,
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those 4, and Devin White is probably over 50%, I would say. Not going to say he's like 80%, but he's over 50, maybe like 55, 60%. I would say out of those, I haven't heard anything about them liking Josh Allen. But they sent Todd Bowles to his pro day, so I guess that's a good sign. I mean,
Probably just scoping it out.
yeah, I mean, it's not like you just sent a random area scout there.
Right.
Like, they sent the defensive coordinator. Like,
Got to see what the hype is all about.
and they sent Todd Bowles to Ed Oliver's pro day as well. Here's something. If I include Jason Light, and I'm sitting at 5, I want to get your opinion on this too. Let me get your opinion first. You're Jason Light. You're sitting at 5. Josh Allen, Quinn Williams, and Nick Bosa are gone. You're sitting at 5. What would you do if you were Jason Light? Not what you think, but what would you do?
I'm still pretty much sold on Devin White. I still like him as the guy at number 5. I think for him to be a possible pick, it would help us out. It kind of cleans things up for the Gerald McCoy situation. You bring in Devin White, you bring in a linebacker presence. You don't need to focus on bringing in another young guy on that pass rush. I'm sure it would be nice. Having a younger pass rush is awesome, especially when you get guys who can develop. Unfortunately, Vita Vea couldn't do that first half of the season because he just didn't play for a good amount of time. But if you have guys who can go in there and develop and make a difference now, then that's awesome. But if you've got Gerald McCoy, who at the same time is paying him $13 million a year, I actually don't know. I haven't thought about this. But I do like Devin White. I think I would do what I can to get Devin White and fit him into that system. At least at 5, you know what I mean? I don't think you can trade back and have him be there for much longer.
Yeah, the range for Devin White is probably 5 to 10. Once you get past 10, it starts to become hard.
Yeah, because from 5, where are the Bucs going to trade back? I can't imagine it'd be anywhere before pick number 10, unless it's pick number 10.
10 would be the furthest, unless Jacksonville wants to draft like Haskins to be Nick Foles' successor, and Jacksonville thinks the Giants are going to take him at 6, and Jacksonville moves up, and the Bucs get like a 4th round pick or something.
Yeah,
that's the only way I could see it, but. Yeah, 10 is probably the farthest the Bucs could trade down, because even the Broncos could pick him at 10. The Bengals would definitely pick him at 11. The Lions could pick him. There's a bunch of teams. So what I would do, I've gone back and forth on this, and I finally made a decision. This is not what I think they will do. This is not what. This is sort of what I'm advocating for them to do. Even though, like, I don't really care what they do because it doesn't impact me one way or another. I mean, they're going to get a good football player at 5. But if I was the general manager and all 3 of them guys were gone, I would take Ed Oliver. Just because I think. Gerald McCoy's time with the Bucs is coming to an end no matter what, whether Devin White's here or not. And I just think Ed Oliver's going to be a beast in this league. And I think it's almost going to be like a Darwin James situation almost. Like you're going to be saying, not just the Bucs, but you're going to be saying
anybody who misses out on a player like him.
Like you might be saying by mid-season, how did 10 other teams pass on this guy or something like that, Everybody likes to point out the Bucs passing on Derwin James, And it's just because the Bucks were the most interested in Derwin James at 7th overall. That's why. But people forget Derwin James was 17th, right? There were 16 other teams, 15 other teams other than the Bucks that said nope, right? So, I mean, Derwin James wasn't even the first safety drafted. It was Minka Fitzpatrick. So,
Right.
definitely think that you could see a Derwin James type situation though. If Ed Oliver ends up maybe in Buffalo at 9, you can be like, oh my God, like how did teams like the Raiders and the Bucks and the Jets and the Giants, how they pass on Ed Oliver and stuff like that. So I just think he's a special talent. There was a reason that he was in the number 1 overall pick conversation when college football season first started. It was him and Bosa, the 1 and 2 race. Quinton Williams just started to play outstanding and started to get better and better and started to impress. And Ed Oliver is very impressive. And it's rare to have an athlete like him with the strength he does. And I seriously think that this kid's going to be a star. I think Devin White is going to be a good player, but I hesitate every time somebody tells me Devin White's going to be a star. I think Ed Oliver is that star type player. I think Devin White is a good player, but I just think Ed Oliver, if you're talking star potential, Ed Oliver has a bit more star potential than Devin White. So that's why he's my pick at 5.
Well, I think another thing, too, kind of piggybacking off of that, you look at Ed Oliver, he's a guy you think a lot of teams are gonna miss out on. Can we both agree that Bosa is kind of overrated?
Oh,
The silence was actually scaring me. I thought I offended you. I thought you were going to come back and say, listen here, bud.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know, overrated, because I think people are starting to realize how good Quinton Williams is. And I think they're starting to, like, I had Bosa when I first started the draft process. I had Bosa as number 1. Now I have Williams as number 1. So I think a lot of people are starting to realize just how good Quinton Williams is. To their, like, Nick Bosa isn't being talked about a whole lot,
Right.
and he's a heck of a player. I mean, I think a lot of the overrated comments are because it hurt him because he didn't play much his last season. And Quinton Williams obviously played every game. He played in the national championship. He dominated. That helped, but it's still good. I don't know. I wouldn't call him overrated.
Okay.
I think maybe a little bit before he was overrated, but I think now that people are starting to realize that he's not the best player in the draft, he's like number 2 or maybe number 3. I wouldn't put him ahead of Josh Allen, but because Josh Allen to me is a pass rusher, but needs to work on his run defending game. I think Bosa's got a more well-rounded game, but yeah, I mean, I see it's an easy and lazy comparison, but I see Joey Bosa when I look at Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
It's the same type of player. It just is. I don't know. Most overrated player in the draft is Greedy Williams, though. So.
Really don't like Greedy Williams. So, I actually just refreshed the live chat. It wasn't working for some reason, but one of the other questions I have, any info about the full schedule, release date, first opponent, etc. And I wanted to say that the schedule will probably come out, if not on the 18th, around the 18th. Same time it did last year, about a week before the draft. And first opponent, I haven't heard anything leak as to anything like that. I think the only guaranteed opponent that the only guaranteed game we have right now is the one in London against Carolina.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the schedule should be coming out soon.
And you don't even know what week that is. You just know the location and stuff. But
it's happening. Don't know when, but it'll be here.
Yeah, it's scheduled coming out sooner rather than later. It's likely Thursday the 18th. It's not official. The NFL normally puts out like a thing, and they make like a big like schedule release show. But yeah, haven't heard any leaks.
So
Bucks started on the road last year.
I think they'll start at home.
I don't know. Maybe start in London. I'm just kidding. They'll never put a week 1 game in London because everybody plays week 1. Everybody plays week 1 and 2, I believe, and then week 3 is when the bye start. Either week 3 or week 4.
Yeah.
Everybody plays in week 1 and 2. So hoping the best case scenario, and also guys, a little before we head out, a little note: whenever that London game is, the bye week is going to be the next week because the NFL has the team go out early to London, like Wednesday or so, for a Sunday game, play the Sunday game, and then they're not going to have the team come back to Tampa and try to work up a game plan for the other team. So that'll be the bye week. So if they play in London week 7, week 8 is going to be the bye week. I don't know 7, but whenever that is, the next week is the bye week.
So we just got to wait and see how that plays out. Full schedule should be coming out, like I said before, sometime around the 18th. And before we start getting out of here, as you said, I got a couple more things I wanted to bring up. I'm sure one of them you're going to have a very strong opinion about it. Our buddy Trey in the live chat says Magic and 4.
Magic and 4.
Magic and 4.
Okay. Oh, they won by 3. Relax.
So we won't talk about the NBA. One more thing I did want to comment on. As we record this and as we are live on YouTube, the Lightning are in a series with the Columbus Blue Jackets. They are down. They are down 2-0 after playing 2 games at home. First game, you went up 3-0 at the end of the first period, and then you just get dumped on for the rest of the game. 4-3, the final score in that one. And then they played Friday night. They didn't even show up to that one. I think 5-1 was the final score on that. I mean, dude, I was working that game. My job is to leave at puck drop. By the time I had my things packed up and ready to go, they were down 2-0. So I don't know what's going on. I'm sure it's just a simple case of overlooking your opponent, but they've got 2 games in Columbus. They got to figure it out. And playoff hockey is something very, very exciting, and I think we've seen crazier things happen. I'm not saying they're going to win 4 straight, but I think we'll see them win in the series.
I think, I'm thinking Lightning in 7. I don't think the Lightning are going to win 4 straight. Columbus is outworking. Yeah, Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus is
job of playing the trap, and Tampa, I mean, Stamkos, nothing. Point, nothing. Hedman, nothing. Kucherov, nothing. Kucherov out next game. Hedman, bang. Vasilevsky's been bad. It's just, Columbus is playing like a team, and Tampa's playing like an all-star team. Or just, I always remember the Miracle movie. All-star teams fail because they rely solely on their own talent. And like I was telling you, in the playoffs, you got to be mentally tough. And Lightning have shown, I'm sorry, but they're not mentally tough in the playoffs. A lot of people are going to say, well, you're a Flyers fan. What do you know? Okay, relax. They're not mentally tough in the playoffs because they're the best. Well, they're one of the best teams in the regular season every year. Why don't you ever get to the Stanley Cup? You got to the Stanley Cup once and you lost. Like, they're not as mentally tough, and now they've got themselves in a hole, and they're without one of their star players for Game 3 in a must-win, because I think you can agree with me. If Columbus ends up winning this game, I don't think the Lightning will get swept, but I don't see the Lightning winning.
It's rough, man, and good thing we just signed.
If Columbus wins and goes up 3-0, are the Lightning going to come back?
They're going to be the laughing stock of the NHL.
Are the Lightning going to come back?
I believe they will.
You'll believe they'll come back and win in 7.
I believe we've seen crazier things. So, good thing we just signed head coach John Cooper to a long-term deal. I'm excited about that. And
he's Tony Dungy of the Lightning.
Let's hope he can turn it around somehow. I don't know, man, but
good in the regular season. Once you get to the playoffs, nothing. But don't worry, the Flyers have Dirk Cutter, so it's okay.
So, here we are, kind of towards the end of the stream. We have caught you guys up on everything Bucks news. Again, it's been a very slow week. We talked about the Magic winning in 4, and then we brought up the Lightning, who are going to win in 7. So, that's pretty much all we've got for you guys today. We've got one last question. This is by Armor Man. He said, are you guys going to any preseason games? Evan, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'll be at any of the preseason games this year. I'm going to try and make it out to the draft party, though.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if you guys know. I don't live in Tampa, so getting to preseason, I get to one or two, if I'm lucky, two regular season games a year. So getting to a preseason game is pretty tough. I'll see. Sometimes I do come down for training camp. I know I did that last year. We recorded a live show. Me and Rhett went out and had some wings.
Oh yeah, man.
I'll see if we can do that again. But yeah, that's. I'm only down in Tampa twice a year, so yeah, that's going to a preseason game just not an option for me. And, I wish.
It's all good. It happens, but ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, whether it's on YouTube, live with us here now, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, or Podbean. You can follow the show on Instagram at Cannon Fire Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Cannon Fire Pod. You can follow my co-host Evan at Bucks Wave, formerly Bucks Football, on Instagram and Twitter. You can also follow myself at Rhetticus, RHETTAKUS, on Instagram and Twitter as well. Make sure you check out our partners at PewterReport.com for some of the best Bucks coverage in the game. I am Rhett, signing off for Evan, and we'll see you next time. Go Bucks!